So we're just going to look at a couple of examples of different kinds of people and the courses they create, because sure, everyone should be fully accessible. That's a great idea, but it just is not practical for everyone. So let's look at a few different use cases. So James wants to create an online course using video lectures he's recorded, articles he's gathered, and simple quiz questions. So he plans to collect this content into an LMS and promote it on social media. James doesn't have a business. He doesn't work with any government agencies, so he's not legally required to be 508 compliant. Since he is using an LMS to host his content, he doesn't have much to worry about, actually, because the screen reader functionality and many of the other technical features are provided by the learning management system. But what he really needs to think about would be the closed captions, video scripts, and you know what, if he's using YouTube, he doesn't even have to worry about that. Informative links for his articles, so when he links to an article, it needs to be informative. Alt text for any images he uses in the course or on his social media channels. You've got to put that alt text in. Usually once you get the image in, you have some option somewhere to add the alt text. And well-written quiz questions. And everything else will be handled by the LMS, or at least it should be. So here we have a nonprofit. It's a local food bank that's partially funded by a government grant, and they want to create an interactive course on their website that teaches the community members about the long-term impacts of food scarcity. So since this food bank receives federal funding, it will need to demonstrate 508 compliance for all of their digital assets. So their entire website, any, content they have on there, including the course. Since their course will be hosted on the website and not in an LMS, the course itself will need to be built with an authoring program like Storyline. And that means all of the WCAG standards need to be built into the course by a course developer who specializes in the 508 compliance. So, they have to do everything we've talked about so far. They need to meet the AA WCAG standards. Okay, so now we have a small business. So Sheila and her husband, Brian, they run this small bakery with 2 other employees. They hope to expand and they want to create a short onboarding training program for future employees. All right, sounds good. In this case, a course created either in an LMS or as a standalone file is not required to meet the WCAG standards. Their content will not be public facing and will only be used by a few people. However, if they select employees based on the employee's ability to access the content they've created, then they could be accused of discrimination. So, they don't meet the standards, but that means that there's some people they can't hire, or at least they can't use that course to train them. That situation can get kind of sticky. So at a minimum, they should be sure their content can be read and heard. So they should also be prepared to help someone with visual or physical impairments in case they have trouble navigating the course. So as long as they're prepared to sit down with someone and walk them through the course, then they are providing that accommodation. Okay, so now we have the big business, right? This large company has over 1,000 employees, and they want to create a leadership training program in the hopes of nurturing emerging leaders and teams. They think this will increase their profits over the course of 3 years. Yep, and it probably will. The larger the company, the more likely it is that they are a vendor to a government agency, or, they provide some service or receive some kind of funding from the government. Not necessarily, but it's likely. And they have employees who will need and want the accessibility features described in the WCAG AA standards. Even if they aren't receiving any funding from the government, they have over 1,000 employees, and so they're going to have people that need these accommodations. And it's almost always cheaper to build within an LMS instead of hiring a 508 specialist who can author courses. So for this company, it depends on their budget, because it's going to be cheaper if they just use videos and have some closed captions and they put everything in a learning management system and kind of build it out in there, because the learning management system is going to handle all that screen reader tech and keyboard accessibility and what have you. But if they're really wanting to brand this overall course, then they're going to need to hire someone who's a specialist in the 508 accommodations to make sure that's done right. So So in summary, different clients you work with are going to have different needs, and you should be flexible in your approach to implementing accessibility features. Some courses will serve people who have strong reading skills and won't need everything read to them. So in that case, the push for 100% narration might not be a priority. Some courses may only be purchased by well-sighted learners simply due to the nature of the content. For example, being a professional photographer requires vision. So a course that caters to sighted people might not be as concerned about screen reader capabilities. Other courses might be really advanced. For example, a medical course might require a science degree. So making it understandable to someone with low cognitive ability is actually impossible. So the bottom line is make your course as accessible as possible within reason.